Hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. Today it's me and Benj, and we're going to be talking about the weekend's games that have happened in the IPL. So make sure you like, it's going to be a good one, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet, because we're on our way to 2,500 subscribers. We're almost there. So let's get into it. There have been other games before the weekends that took place. There was a rained off game, a high scoring one between Mumbai and Punjab, and some other games. But the only real big story from those games is that it's just blown the table wide open. And we're going to talk about that later. So stay tuned, because this is heating up to be a very good IPL. But anyway, the first game that happened this weekend, Mumbai versus Benji's beloved Chennai. Talk us through it, Benj.
At home in Chennai, at the glorious Chennai Stadium, it was a good day at the MR8. Yeah, Chipuk. I can't pronounce it properly, but I'm going to go with that. Chipuk. Yeah. There you go. Glorious home crowd, yellow everywhere for the El Clasico, Mumbai versus CSK, and I tell you what, it was a nail biter until Chennai started batting. But I think that my main take from that was just how well Chennai operate as a unit when everyone's fit. And I know that Chennai have been really damaged this year by injuries. Like Sasanda Magala still not quite right. Ben Stokes still not quite right. But Deepak Chahar being back in the fold is absolutely huge for the Super Kings. I think that his ability at the top of the order to just, first of all, get wickets, but bowl economically as well, is just second to none. Like the fact that he was able to take the bid wickets of Ishan Kishan and Rohit Sharma, I was just so impressed by. And it really allowed Chennai to restrict that bowling. To restrict the score that the Mumbai bowlers could, that the Mumbai batters could put up. The real hero of that game, I don't know if you watched much of it, Zach, but Nihal Wadera, what did you think about his very mature knock?
Yeah, he looked really class, actually. I think when you've got a team that's experienced and they've got that understanding of how to win that Mumbai have, because they've done it so often, and there's some massive names in that team. You've got Rohit Sharma toward the top of the order, Ishan Kishan, who's been firing in the IPL, Surya Kumar Yadav, who's been having an amazing year. For him, he's like one of the new ones in that lineup, and yet his innings was what held the team together. He was the difference between Mumbai scoring what they did and being bowled out for less than 100, really. Because when you've got all these big names falling about, you've got to stand up, and he did. And he did a very good, played a very nice innings. But the story was Pathirana, really. His bowling was insane. It prevented Mumbai from getting anywhere near like 160 maybe, which was probably what they needed. That was probably more of the past score. Yeah. But the way Pathirana bowls, the new Malinga, he's fulfilling that name, isn't he?
It's really impressive. I think what I'm really impressed with Chennai at the minute, and actually why I think that Chennai might be in contention now. I didn't believe it until this weekend, but I think now I'm coming back around to the thought that CSK might be in contention now for the title this year, or at least a decent playoff spot. Because strong. If Deepak Chahar is fit, he will come in and bowl well early. We've got Deshpande and Pathirana to bowl at the death. And Pathirana, if that kid is in form for the rest of the season, putting up performances like that, then no one's going to beat Chennai. Like, I think figures of 3 for 15 off 4. I was just so impressed with his maturity and his ability to just put it in the right area with the right pace and just bowl the right ball when needed was just incredible. But also coupling with that, the captaincy of Dhoni and knowing when to turn to a spinner and when to turn to the seamer, it was just a thing of beauty, really. Like the fact that also there was 9 overs of spin bowled. Even though Jadeja was getting a little bit of tap here and there, he was still bowling very well and eventually got the wicket of the dangerous Sky, who's had a couple of big scores recently. And then the tight bowling of Theekshana and Moeen Ali, I think, was really good. The one thing that at the minute, I'm not quite sure about in Chennai's setup is still the reliance on Theekshana, because, yes, he's a very talented bowler, but he's only that one-dimensional cricketer. He offers nothing in the field, because you see that by the fact that he gets subbed out as soon as he finishes 4 overs, and he offers nothing with the bat. Whereas I think someone like Mitch Santner was bowling very, very, very well at the start of the season, probably better than Theekshana.
Yeah.
And he can bat. He can be a solid number 8 or 9. Probably in this Chennai setup, at number 9, which is amazing having him at 9. And I think he's way better in the field, and
he's got bucket
as
hands.
good of a bowler.
Yeah. I think Santner is one of those players who is like Theekshana in that he won't go for many runs. I think the reason they're playing Theekshana is because he has that extra wicket-taking ability in the mystery department. He's that sort of spinner, whereas Santner's more of a predictable sort of spinner who batsmen could target. And I think that Santner, in the long term, probably won't have as much effect with the ball as someone like Theekshana. I think if Theekshana was really struggling for form, I think he's hit and miss at the moment. I think if he was really struggling for form every single game, then definitely bring in Mitch Santner. It makes sense. But at the moment, I would keep Theekshana in there. But yeah, you're right. Santner's a utility player. He's such a great option to have sitting out. So yeah, there's definitely talent there.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see Theekshana getting left out instead of Mitch Santner. That wouldn't surprise me at all if we see that towards the end of the season. No. But then Chennai also, I was just so impressed with also the way that they went about their reply as well, because it never looked like Chennai were in danger.
No.
Like, they were chasing 140, and Gaikwad came out and played a very, very, very mature innings, hit 2 brilliant sixes, but it just looked really good. And then Conway, Rahane, and Raidu played the absolute knocks that they needed, which allowed Shivam Dubé to come out and just swing. It was just really impressive. And then once Ambati Raidu went out, Dhoni was able to realise what the crowd wanted. Sorry, when Conway went out, Dhoni realised what the crowd wanted. They wanted Dhoni. So he came out and blessed them with 3 balls, where he managed to score a blistering 2 off 3.
That's what he's doing at the moment. Just a few balls, isn't it?
That's it. All in all, it was a really great game. I was really pleased with how Chennai are going. And if they can keep this momentum and keep this form, they're going to be a really dangerous team. And as a Chennai fan, that's a great place to be. But Zach, also that day was RCB versus the Delhi Capitals, which didn't go quite the way that you wanted it to. So talk us through that. Royal Challengers batted first, and they put up 181. Do you reckon that was par?
Well, it's hard to know what's par these days, because we've seen teams get over 200 in this IPL, and other teams easily chase it down. So it's hard to know. I think that there's always criticism against RCB when a team wins so easily against us. And the criticism falls on Virat Kohli's pace against spin bowling. He doesn't really strike it much more than 7, 8, or 8 and over against the spinners. And that might cost us some runs. And I think probably if Virat Kohli had scored a bit quicker and maybe scored an extra, 10, 15 runs, maybe, then we could have seen a much better total from us. I'm just going to wait until you're...
I'm here.
You just look a bit strange.
That's right. No, it's all right. Total from us. Keep going.
Yeah, so I think an extra few runs from Kohli would have done us good. However, saying that, I do think that our batting was all right in that game. I thought Faf du Plessis played very well, as he always has done, at the top of the order. I think Mahapal Lomro, seeing him play so well in that middle order is really good to see, because it means that our top 4, Kohli, du Plessis, Maxwell, Lomro, is looking really strong. We just need Dinesh Karthik. He's the finisher at number 6, and then Kedar Yadav is probably going to be that number 5 player because Shabazz Ahmed just hasn't come to the party, and he's the key really to RCB's balance. We were talking about it, weren't we, earlier yesterday? Actually, the fact that if Shabazz Ahmed is death hitting as he should and bowling tightly with this spin as he should, then that's a great option to have for us. So it's a shame that he's not really in form.
He's not even getting a game at the minute, is he?
No, and it's a shame because he's a really good player for us, and he should be one of our start up and comers. So hopefully we'll see him come in. But that's that.
I think for me the real person that swung the game in Delhi's favour was there were two people. There was the economy of Axar Patel, and you can see why he was used at the top to counteract Kohli and Faf, and just to slow the game down. And also Mitchell Marsh, I think he came in, he picked up 2 massive wickets. The first baller of Glenn Maxwell, I think, was a pivotal moment in that game, really, because give Glenn Maxwell time to come in to face the spinners, and you're going to get a 200 plus score.
Yeah.
And I think Mitch Marsh, his little spell was so key in Delhi's success. However, it was good from an England perspective, I thought anyway, to see Phil Salt.
Yeah, it was nice to see him.
He hit. I know it's probably painful as a RCB fan, but as an England supporter, all good.
Yeah, it was nice to see Phil Salt score runs in that way, because he is that sort of player. He's not the sort of player who's going to consistently do that. I think we'll see him score those sorts of scores every now and again. But when he does, it'll look really impressive. It's a shame it happened against RCB as an RCB fan. However, I thought that Delhi played it really well because Mohammad Siraj has been the best power play bowler all season, aside from maybe Deshpande. So the fact that they said, let's target Siraj, that was really good for them because Siraj sets the tone. And if he sets the tone with 2 or 3 wickets in the power play, there's no coming back from that, which is what he's done all tournament. So the fact that Warner and Salt had that plan going forward, it worked, which nullified Siraj and meant that RCB were just playing catch up the rest of the game. And they couldn't really stop it from there. They could have got Phil Salt early. There was a drop catch from Dinesh Karthik, which was a tough chance. I'll give him that. But if we'd have taken that, then it could have been a completely different game because getting him early was what we needed. And yeah, I think it was just very good batting from the Capitals, maybe 10 runs short from RCB. But at the end of the day, the way they batted, they could have scored 230.
I do feel bad for RCB that the Delhi that James predicted would come to town only came to town against them. Because looking at Delhi's squad, this is the type of performance that they could regularly put out. But as predicted at the start, and this was my big issue with Delhi, which is why I thought they were going to finish quite low down, is because it's just taken them till over halfway through the season to figure out what their good mix is. Like the fact now that they're playing, right? I don't know if you noticed this, but they played their 4 overseas as their top 4. Like they're really trusting their Indian bowling. Like if you think about Delhi, what you thought about in the past is a strong overseas pace attack. So it's been for so many years Norkia and Rabada, and then Norkia and Ngidi.
Yeah,
and actually freeing that space up to use the overseas slots as the top 4 and bring in Warner, Salt, Marsh, and Russo, I think it's just been absolutely huge for them this year. And especially when they're missing Rishabh, who would 100% slot into that number 4 slot, he'd keep wicket.
Yeah, it would mean that probably
it would mean that probably Russo wouldn't get a game, and I'd imagine Norkia would come back in, would be my prediction. But the fact that, they've finally managed to find their balance, like I think mathematically they can still qualify, but it's just a shame that Delhi have waited to this part of the season to actually put on a performance like that.
I think Nokia was unavailable.
Right.
He was actually a bit injured, or he had a niggle or something, which meant that he didn't end up playing. And I think when you think about it in the long term, maybe bringing in Riley Rousseau for Nokia, you might get 10 runs extra from someone like a Khalil Ahmed or Mukesh Kumar, but you probably get for those 10 runs an extra 20 runs through playing Riley Rousseau in the top than playing a young Indian batsman. So I think that's the difference. You've kind of got to look at these things. But yeah, it's definitely getting tighter. And again, we're going to talk about that in a bit. So we come on to today's games. And the Gujarat Titans just proving why they are the team to beat this season, defending champions from last season, and they have been awesome again. That opening partnership, at one stage, I thought they were just going to bat the whole innings and both have 150 because Shubman Gill doing Shubman Gill things. He's having a super good year. And Riddiman Saha, I don't know if you want to talk about Saha because he's sometimes all right and sometimes very
Yeah.
good. And today he was very good.
For me, Saha is such a sometimes hot, sometimes cold batter. Like, for Sunrisers, I remember him being such a good example of good ball striking and looking so good with the bat. But other times he gets in and he's lucky if he gets off the mark or scores 10, 15 runs. So he's just such a real I don't know what's the right word, but a bit of a
He's a banker, isn't he, at the top?
yeah, a banker at the top that he'll put some, but he's a bit of an enigma with the like level of performance that you see from him. Today, it just was one of those innings where he felt it and he smashed it all over the place and he looked amazing. I think the thing from Saha's innings for me is that he scored 10 fours. Like a score of 81 and 10 of them coming off fours was brilliant. Like nearly half his runs from just playing proper cricket. Like I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if KS Barrett is injured, I think that Saha could be a replacement in the test squad for India.
Okay, yeah.
Like
But
with
he's
no
there or
Rahul,
thereabouts, isn't he?
no Rahul, no Pant, and if KS Barrett's injured, I'd say Riddiman Saha would be that next choice.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Shubman Gill though mostly because he was the real star. Like Shubman Gill batting through the innings, 7 sixes for the boy. Like he just, I feel bad for him not getting his ton, but like it just shows that selfishness of like putting the team first, and then real great play from Gujarat. I mean, Hardik Pandya will always bat himself at 3 until the cows come home, and then giving David Miller those 12 balls at the end. Arguably, when you've got that much of a good start, I'd send out David Miller at the fall of the first wicket. Like if David Miller went out at over 12.1 when there were 142 for 1, Miller would just smash it all over the place and they could have scored 260. So maybe a bit selfish from Hardik there, but I mean, they just made the Lucknow bowlers look ordinary.
Yeah, it was hard.
It was just hard to watch.
Yeah, it was. I think Lucknow struggled. They used a lot of bowlers, and that's because the Gujarat batters just didn't let the bowlers settle, and that's the key, isn't it, to putting up a decent total. And Shubman Gill played a very good innings. I do actually think that Gujarat were 10 runs shorter than they probably could have got because when Hardik Pandya and David Miller came in, Shubman Gill was more interested in getting them on strike. But he was striking the ball so well, I think he could have very easily scored a century. But to get 227, and they've not batted Vijay Shankar, Rashid Khan, Rahul Tewati, and Abhinav Manohar. It's just criminal how good their team is in a way, especially from a batting point of view.
Yeah.
But then when you look at their bowlers, I mean, Mohammad Shami has been so good at the top. Rashid Khan, we know how good he is. Noor Ahmed isn't going for any runs, and Mohit Sharma's experience has just been incredible to watch, and he's brought a lot to that team. So those bowlers as well as that batting lineup, it's scary. And how our team's going to beat them, I don't really know. But at one stage, it did look like Lucknow could potentially win.
Yeah.
especially with the way Carl Mayers and Quinton de Kock were going.
I think it's criminal that it's taken 11 games for Quinton de Kock to get a match.
Mm.
Like his first game in the IPL, and he hits a 70, striking at 170. Like, look now, what are you doing? And like de Kock said today, like this is the last time that he's ever late to the IPL
Yeah.
because he's been kept out for 11 games by Carl Myers, who's had, let's be honest, some real bad performances as well. And if you look at the other overseas in Marcus Owens and Nick Purran, like neither of them did particularly good today either. And I was saying this for weeks. Like I think Lucknow should have brought Quinton de Kock in way sooner. And the fact that they've left him out has been criminal. Like even if Mayer's dropped down to like a number 3, and you play one less of Stoinis or Purran, and you bring in an overseas bowler, because I think today that's what they needed. Like Stoinis was trying to fulfill that role, but they got smashed around for 20 runs. Criminal too. Ayush Badoni batting down at 6. Like against CSK, he came in way earlier and played such a good knock. And I think he's wasted down there. And I think that again, Lucknow needs to do a bit of soul searching into working out, now that Kara Hall's injured, what is their best starting 11, because I don't think they've got it.
No, I do. However, looking at that team, I think they've got a good team and it looks solid. I think that the reasoning behind sending in Marcus Stoinis and Purran when they did is that Quinton de Kock and Carl Mayers got them off to such a good start. And I'm just thinking back to when Lucknow beat RCB, and it was down to Stoinis and Purran in those middle overs, just keeping on going. But they are the engine room for Lucknow. They're the ones who are going to score these big scores. So Gujarat have done their homework and they bowled incredibly well to them. They bowled tight lines. They didn't let anything away. They bowled their experienced, economical bowlers against them, and that was clever because it meant that the momentum was completely sucked out of that chase. And that's what Gujarat Titans do best. They're the momentum suckers, I guess, of this IPL. And yeah, it was just too much in the end for Lucknow. And very well played again by Gujarat, who continue to be the team to beat. So moving on to the game that's just happened, which in my opinion is probably the best game of this IPL so far. I mean, it had absolutely everything. We had a Joss Buttler special, 95 off 59. We had Jay as well, striking at almost 200. Sanju Samson comes to the party in the second half of an IPL. I mean, what's that about? And yeah, it was, and then it came all the way down to the last ball. So yeah, I'm just still in shock over this game because it had everything.
For me, it missed one thing, and that was a Joe Root innings. Like,
I missed out.
Finally gets a game and doesn't get a bat. Like, it's a bit.
He didn't really do much all game, did he?
He probably fielded for a bit.
Yeah,
that was all.
He almost took an absolute screamer right at the end in the last couple of overs to get rid of Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Samad. I think
I would say that for me, Root. I mean, after the start that Jaiswal and Joss Buttler have done, I mean, still in the power play, I think that's prime time for Joe Root to come in. But let's be honest, it was just because of how well that Buttler and Sampson played. It's interesting that Root's come in over Jason Holder.
Oh no, yeah, Jason Holder, yeah.
So he's the one who's made way, because actually Jason Holder has had he struggled for a few weeks. So yeah, I'm all about it. I think Joe Root adds stuff with the ball as well. He wasn't chosen today, but I think he does. I mean, Obed McCoy was the impact player who bowled 1 over for 13. So I don't think we'll see Obed McCoy anytime soon again. But it was a thriller, wasn't it? And the fact that it came down to that last ball, yeah, I mean, what a good game. I think Rajasthan were in a position to win it today. And it was their death bowling, which was the problem for me. And yeah, the Abdul Samad show really for me was what did it. Also, but I do want to shout out Glenn Phillips, who hasn't had much of a look in this IPL because of Harry Brook. Harry Brook has now been left out. Glenn Phillips comes in, and I mean, a strike rate of over 350. The man was
Well,
dealing in nearly only boundaries, wasn't he?
he was the reason they won.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There's obviously other reasons, but when Glenn Phillips came in and Kuldeep Yadav was bowling, Kuldeep Yadav, sorry, was bowling the penultimate over, and he hit him for 3 sixes in a row. And then Kuldeep Yadav made a very good reply to get him out, and they still needed like 23 to win. I think it was 17 off the last over. Sandeep Sharma bowling it. He's obviously a very good. He's been bowling very well all tournament, Sandeep Sharma, and I think they needed 5 to win off the last ball. So 6 to win, 4 for a super over. They hit it into the offside or the leg side. They run a couple runs, and then it turns out it was a no ball, and so he had to re-bowl it. And they had celebrated. They thought they'd won, and then he had to re-bowl it, and Samad hits it for a 6. I mean, that's like a story finish. That imagine being Sunrisers right then, where you think you've lost, and then you win because of a no ball, and he properly overstepped as well. It was great to watch, and
match fixing ?
That would be that's a claim, isn't it? Anyway, but Sunrisers winning just makes everything closer because it means that Rajasthan Royals stay on 10 points. And now when we look at the table, Gujarat Titans are obviously probably qualified with 16 points. That's with it how close as it is, that they've gone 16 points. They're probably qualified with that. CSK next on 13 points. And LSG have 11 points. And then after that, we've got 4 teams on 10 and 3 teams on 8. So we're into this last stage of the tournament. You can kind of normally decide who the top 4 are going to be.
I mean, we have a CNQ that says, please will you start to look at the results each team need to be assured of playoff place, not just their results, but other games too. So we can't promise that in this video right now, but we promise that we will start looking at some permutations. I'm sure Zach will have a spreadsheet in the background where we'll start looking at that. But I mean, as it stands, I would say that every team in the league has a chance of qualifying. I think that 4th, like it looks like Gujarat and Chennai, unless something goes very badly, will make playoffs. But then there's 1 point between 3 and then 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then just 1 game between 8, 9, 10, 11. So like, and actually, Royal Challengers, Mumbai, Punjab, Kolkata, Sunrisers, and Delhi all have a game in hand as well. So it's just really exciting, this IPL. It's really shaping up to be one of the best that we've had in recent times. Zach, tell me how do Royal Challengers, because that's the one that you really care about, qualify?
I think they need to win at least 2 of their next 4 games. Their net run rate is okay. It's better than the other teams who have played the same number of games and have the same number of wins. So I think if they win 2 of their 4 games, then that puts them in a very good situation. It puts them in a good situation to qualify. If they win 3 of their games, I can see them qualifying. But it's hard given that if you look at all the teams, other than Gujarat and Delhi have had some good form. All their 4 wins have come in their last 5 games. All the other teams are kind of, you win 1, you lose 1, you win 1, you lose 1. No one's able to string results together. And I think the teams that can do that will qualify now. And I think if RCB can do that, they can string together 2 or 3 wins. That will put us in such a good place going through. However, any team could do that right now. Kolkata Knight Riders could do it. Sure. Punjab could do it. And yeah, I think it's looking like a very, very interesting tournament.
Okay, so just before we end then, Kolkata versus Punjab tomorrow. What do we predict? I reckon Punjab win.
I reckon it's going to be a very close one, but I also agree with you. I think Punjab are likely to win. I think they've played better cricket in the tournament, and I think that they've got a decent squad at this, or they've got a decent balance at this stage. Whereas I still think KKR are finding their true team.
Yeah.
So yeah, my money's on Punjab.
And without James here, one of us has to come in and rep the flag for Punjab, because we have got a big following in the Punjabi boys. But anyway, that's all for today. We're gonna go. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. Please like and subscribe. Carry on doing that. We're so close to our 2,500 subscriber goal. There will be some new content coming soon, we promise. We've got rebrand on the horizon. We've got all sorts of other stuff. If you're lucky, you'll get some of insights into the NCBC cricket season, where we've won 1 from 1 so far. So come on, NCBC. But yeah, like, subscribe, leave a like for us. Listen to us on our other platforms, and follow our socials, and all the descriptions and all the information is in our link tree. But other than that, we hope you've enjoyed today, and we'll see you next time.